Hello, everybody. The long-awaited part two to are you a sugar burner or a fat burner? And I'm going to dive into intermittent fasting today. So we're going to cover a quick review on sugar burner versus a fat burner, why I started fasting in my early 40s, and the 6 lessons I've learned along the way. So this is a really action-packed episode. So here we go. All right, so sugar burner, fat burner, you may have heard these terms: metabolic flexibility, metabolic inflexibility. What we want as a human being is to be able to jump from being a sugar burner to a fat burner. This is metabolic flexibility. We don't want to be in one or the other, even though I know most of us really want to get into that fat burning, and I am going to teach you how to get there. Most of us are stuck in this sugar burning phase, okay? And we don't want that. So just imagine your body as a car on a road trip. And when you're running on sugar burning, which I did for years, okay, it's like fueling your car with a high octane candy called Sugar Rush. And just a little FYI, I'm sure you all know this, but I want to say this. It's not like you're eating a bowl of sugar, right? This is alcohol, popcorn, chips, bread, pasta. It's those simple carbohydrates that just give you that sugar rush. So the car goes super fast and zooms down the road, but the fuel doesn't last long, okay? And you have to keep refilling this candy or simple processed food, sugar tank frequently. And it leads to crashes and cravings along the way. And you experience things like hangry, cravings, you frequently eat. It's just, I mean, I'm telling you, I was in this phase for a long time. I couldn't leave my house without a snack. And what happens is, let me go into the other part of this. Okay, and then we'll go back. So now let's switch gears to fat burning. So when you're running on fat burning, it's like fueling your car with a slow burning, sustainable source. And let's call this fat fuel deluxe. Okay. And the car chugs along steadily, efficiently using the stored fat that we have on our body and in our organs, okay, as fuel. So it's like kind of like having like a mini food truck right inside of our car, right inside of ourselves, inside of our car, providing us with energy for a longer journey without constantly stopping for refills. Okay, so sugar burning is like a quick burst of energy that fades away quickly, while fat burning is like a slow burning fuel that keeps us going for a more extended period of time. And like I said at the beginning, it's essential to strike a balance between these two fuel sources in our body and choose healthier options overall in our nutrition. Okay, so fasting really can help you shift into being a fat burner. And the first step you would take, which is the first step I did, in my early 40s, was just writing down when my last bite of food was to my first bite of food. And so that was one of the first steps I take. How long was it? How long was I fasting for in just a general, without really being intentional about it, state? Okay, that's the first thing I did. The second thing I did was I was a snacker. I had breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, and then maybe I even did a lot of nighttime eating. Okay, I definitely did. Not maybe, but I did. Okay, so then I would start to look at, okay, how many times am I eating during the day? Because what happens is that if you're constantly putting fuel in this tank, your body does not tap into those fat stores. And we have something like, I said, 52,000 calories stored within us that's just sitting there waiting for us to use it. But because we're stuck in this sugar burning mode and constantly eating, we're never tapping into this stored energy in our body. Okay, and I watched a documentary, like I said, in my early 40s. I was reading about it. I've read so many fasting books, and then I just started to play with it. And I kind of got into a habit of, 16 hours, 13 hours, 17 hours. And I'm going to talk about some of the lessons I learned, but then I would explore doing different fasts. So I'll talk about those in a minute. Okay. So why did I start fasting? Why maybe do you want to start fasting? Well, there are lots of benefits, and I know one of them is weight loss. But there's so much more than that. And that's really what intrigued me. But we'll talk about the weight management first. Okay, but fasting can positively impact our overall health and well-being. So the first one is weight management. So as you know, over the age of 35, when you start to hit that 35, 40 mark, your hormones are changing. What you used to do to manage your weight is not working. And you may not notice it until you hit mid 40s, early 50s, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like, where's all this extra fat coming from on my body? Well, it's been those hormones. So I did an episode, let me see if I can find it quickly, what you can and cannot control when it comes to your hormones. Well, number 18, what you can and cannot control about your weight. So that's a good one to listen to. And then number 19, it's only eight minutes long, what you can control when it comes to your food choices. So those are a couple of good episodes to listen to. But your hormones are changing. You can't change these hormones from changing. They're changing. So you need to change your habits and your lifestyle. All right. So fasting, when done correctly and under appropriate guidance, I have a program called Fasting and Fat Release in my Vibrant Living membership, and we have so much fun doing different fasts. But when you do these, they can support weight management by helping to monitor your calorie intake, increase your nutrient density, enhance your fat burning, and improve metabolic flexibility. So remember that metabolic flexibility is being able to go from a sugar to a fat burner. Fasting also helps with hormonal balance. Like I said, your hormones are changing whether you like it or not. Okay, they are shifting, associated with this perimenopausal stage, which can be 10 to 15 years. And then your menopause is that one day after 12 months of not having your period. And then you go into postmenopausal. And if you really want to, nail that down, listen to episode number 2, what menopausal stage are you in? That's a really good episode. Okay, so fasting has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, which is really important because remember, when our blood sugar levels go up, we become a fat storage machine. We also go into, if we keep doing it over time, we become insulin resistant, and that is not good for us. So fasting has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, which can help regulate hormone levels and support your hormone balance. Okay, this one I really love. This one was a kicker because I was really into cellular health. I still am into cellular health, but we're just cells, right? We're just cells, we're bacteria, we're viruses, we're this beautiful makeup of being, of energy, etc. So when we fast, we can trigger a process called autophagy, which is cellular repair. And this autophagy is the body's way of cleaning up and recycling damaged cellular components, right? And this process can promote cellular repair and rejuvenation, which potentially can slow down the aging process and support longevity. And that is one of the biggest reasons I started fasting. And this was also around the time that my mother had been diagnosed with cancer, and I was diving into looking at some things to help her, and she's great now, she's thriving. So there was some factors that really instigated me looking at this fasting protocol for myself. All right, the next benefit to fasting for women is that it's insulin regulation, right? And so as I mentioned, fasting has been shown to help to improve insulin sensitivity, which is especially important for women over 40. Okay, really important for women over 40s. And I cannot tell you how many episodes I have on my podcast dedicated to helping you. So there's like number 6, which is the 3 to 5 p.m. crash, right? I have episode 6A and 7A, which are really going to help you. It's 6. Where is it? 5A and 6A. 5A and 6A is really how to create a plan to thrive in menopause. Those are powerful, powerful episodes. And then you can get into my whole series where I, starting at number 25, I have an amazing guest, Michael Alvier, who talks about stopping cravings with a neuroscience approach. I talk about episode number 6 or 26, sugar and cravings, part 1 of 5. So this I see with so many of my clients, there is definitely overeating of simple carbohydrates. And there is a process that you go through. So there's so many episodes dedicated to that. So I'm not going to jump into that. Okay, but when we have these balanced insulin levels, it really can help prevent and manage conditions like type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome. Okay, now here is a big one, and another reason why I started fasting years ago, and it's even more prominent and why I've become way more intentional, is my cognitive health, right? And so fasting has some positive effects on my cognitive function and my brain health. Because I cannot tell you, I am looking at people 20 years older than me with the beginning of Alzheimer's and cognitive decline. And I'm like, I can do something about it now. Like, I have the power. I'm going to empower myself to make changes today to improve my cognitive health, right? And so this can help us improve our focus, our mental clarity, our memory. And women are, I think it's, oh my gosh, is it 5 times? I can't remember the exact statistic, but I put it down there. We are more likely to get Alzheimer's than men. So I am like, okay, time to put on my big girl pants here and get a little more intentional about how I'm living my daily life. And then finally, fasting can reduce inflammation. So we know that inflammation is the root of disease, right? And chronic inflammation can come from a lot of different sources. But when we have chronic inflammation, it's associated with cardiovascular disease, arthritis, certain cancers. And frankly, I'd like to postpone or never get those. And I know that I today can make choices that take me closer to being chronically inflamed or away from being chronically inflamed by what I put on my fork, how I move my body, how I manage my stress, how I sleep, how I get out in nature, and more. But those are some of the key ones there. So when we fast, it's been found to reduce markers of inflammation in the body and can lower the risk of these chronic conditions. Okay, so let's just talk about the 6 things I've learned, and then I can see what time it is and we can do a deeper dive if I choose to here. Okay, so what have I learned from fasting for the last 10 plus years? I have learned that when I first started reading the research, and most research is done on men or mice or rodents, because women are very complicated because of our hormones. So when I started fasting, as today, a lot of the research is still done on men, but I was fasting like a man. So I have learned how to fast with my cycle. And for many of you know, I still have a cycle. And if you don't have a cycle, and this is what I work with in my group for those that don't have a cycle, we work with the lunar cycle. We always have cycles. So whether you have your period or not, you still have a cycle. And when you learn to fast with your lunar cycle or your menstrual cycle, you really learn how to support your hormones, you support your energy, and you learn your flow of how to exercise to support yourself, how to eat, how to schedule your calendar, how to better manage your moods. Like, you really understand this. So that was one of the amazing things I've learned, and that I'm really intentionally doing, and that I teach in my Vibrant Living membership, and it is life-changing. Really, it is. So that is one thing I've learned, and it's huge. All right, the other thing I learned is how to vary my fasts. So when I started fasting years and years ago, I would do the 13-15 or the 16-18, and just kind of vary that. I didn't really experiment with longer fasts. I didn't really understand how different length fasts affected my gut, my brain, my cellular health. So I understand all of those things now. So doing a different fast, which we do in my membership, we change it up, and each month we focus on a different fast. Do we want to focus on healing our gut this month? Do we want to focus on brain health? Do we want to focus on cleansing our liver fast? Do we want to focus on dropping fat, which is one that we're just finishing up right now, and we will do again? Do we want to focus on releasing stored sugars in the body? This really digging into this stored energy that we have. And so each month we take a focus and we vary how we fast. And as a woman, you should not be fasting 30 days a month. There is an ebb and flow. There are times to fast and there are times not to fast. So before you have your period, or about 21 to 22 days after the new moon, you want to go into a period of not fasting, because this is going to help with your progesterone levels. This is going to help with calming yourself down. This is going to just work with the rhythm of your cycle. So these are a lot of things that I've learned. Okay, so I vary my fast. I've learned how to fast with my cycle. I've learned how to enter a fast, because so I'm going to kind of meld these next 3 points together. But all of you know, I wrote Cookie Dough in the Dark. I was addicted to sugar. I had a lot of disordered eating patterns of binging and restricting, all or nothing mentality. And so when I started fasting, I definitely had some of the all or nothing, because you're either eating or you're not eating, right? So that was all or nothing. I definitely had some binging and restricting going on. And I had to sit back, and I've talked about this a lot. And I also have on my YouTube channel, Vibrant Living with Tanya, Mindset Minute, little short videos of teaching you some of the mindset things that I had to work through. Because when you are fasting, I'm telling you, you really start to learn a lot about yourself. You learn you learn about habitual eating and mental eating and stress eating. And you have to have coping mechanisms to deal with those. So, but before I learned some of those coping mechanisms, I would basically restrict myself from eating. And then as soon as my eating window opened up, well, hallelujah, just shove it on in. And I went for, every food I probably shouldn't have eaten, but I did eat, and it was a lot of fun. But that is not how you break a fast, okay? So I learned how to enter a fast and be more gentle with myself, so that I didn't binge and then be like, okay, now that you've eaten all this crap, now you're going to fast like it's a punishment. Okay, so I definitely had some of that going on. But now it's like, oh my gosh, and I don't mean now today, but I mean now over the last couple of years that I've been more intentional with it. And I've learned a lot of these things. And again, I don't mean to keep going on all these tangents, but it's like you pull one thread of your sweater and more starts to unravel, right? And so this is why in my Vibrant Living membership, it's not a food plan, just eat this. If that was the case, nobody would have a problem, right? There is emotional eating, there's stress eating, there's mental eating. They can all be the same. There's environmental trumps will eating, but environmental trumps willpower eating, right? And there's so many strategies. So to pull myself out of this restrict, binge, all or nothing, I had to learn how to be gentle with myself. I had to learn additional skills, and it was fun, right? so that I could get myself to better health, because every one of you knows that my goal is vibrant health. It's vibrant living. It's like your health is everything. It's absolutely everything. Without it, you have nothing, right? And so that is like such a strong value I have. And I hope you have it too. And I hope you're getting more excited about this journey as opposed to thinking of it like a diet. So I had to learn how to navigate that this is not a diet. It's not a restrict and binge. It's not about starving myself. It's about how do I enter a fast to support my hormones, to support my mental, physical well-being, so that I can fast for 15, 20, 24, 36 hours, whichever fast I choose to do. How can I set myself up for success so that my body can really tap into my fat burning potential and cellular rejuvenation and tapping into my longevity genes, right? As opposed to just having this be like, how much weight can I lose, right? And again, I know so many of us want to lose weight. And in fact, you've heard me say this 1,000 times. It's not losing weight, it's releasing weight. And what you actually want to do is release fat. So that's why I talk a lot about shrinking fat cells. But anyway, so I learned how to enter a fast properly. I also learned how to break a fast because, like I said, when I was in this emotional eating phase, restrict, binge, all or nothing, I broke that fast and I was like, oh my God, give me some carbohydrates, like just plow it down. And so this was, I had to get way more strategic. So for example, if I was doing a fast where I wanted to focus on my gut, then I would have some of my bone broth ready to go, right? Because then I've got this beautiful gut that's just had some fasting, and I'm going to put some beautiful homemade bone broth in there that's going to support my gut, right? And then I'm going to have some sauerkraut, raw sauerkraut. And listen, I don't love everything I eat when I first start eating it, but when I understand how good it is for my body, I will start to incorporate those foods. So, oh gosh, I could break down every food group that I haven't liked that I now somehow get into my diet and I don't mind. But so when I started with raw sauerkraut, I tried different brands. You got to make sure it's raw. And I would have a teaspoon, and then I would have a tablespoon, and now I can eat like a cup of it, and I love it. I love Bubby's brand. There's another brand. And I love Healing Spirits. So I actually started with Healing Spirits coconut kefir. That's a beautiful probiotic that you can get in your gut. And then I moved on to some, sauerkraut, some kimchi, some Bubby's pickles. So there's lots of different ways you can do it. And I'm just going to shut my door, so you might hear this for a second here. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, and I really like to focus on food. So that was fabulous. And if you are going to do a probiotic, I have a supplement guide, and I recommend supplements there because there's a lot of shady supplements on the market. So buyer beware. Okay, so when I want to end a fast where I'm really focused on cellular healing and cellular growth, so an autophagy fast, then I would break my fast with having avocado. So you can see how there's just some little simple tweaks you can do that really benefit your body, your organs, your weight release journey. And it's a journey. You don't learn these things overnight. So I read about them, I implement them, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. And, I take this last 15 years of research, or 13, on fasting, and then I give you everything you need to know in my fasting and fat release program, so you don't have to spend hours Googling, linking, is this right for me? Should I be doing this? How long should I fast? When should I fast? What should I be eating? Why aren't I losing weight if I'm fasting? What's happened? Why are my blood sugar levels going up when in the morning? Like there's so many things that you're like, oh my gosh. And that's what I'm here for, should you choose to spend some time with me in my Vibrant Living membership. So couple of things. So I learned to vary my fast. I learned how to enter a fast. I learned how to break a fast properly. And I've given you some suggestions. I learned how to fast with my cycle. I've given you some suggestions, because at the beginning, when you have the new moon, you've heard me talk about this. I think I did in episode number, I just talked about it just a moment ago. What episode? It was like 50 something. When we talked about hot flashes. So number 54, hot flashes in intermittent fasting. I started to talk about fasting with your cycle. I've also talked with it with various guests, but at the beginning, the new moon phase, at the beginning of your period, that's when we want to do some really good fasting that is so beneficial. And then as we move towards away from that new moon, we start to shift, and then we eventually don't fast until the next new moon. So you get into this rhythm, right? And so I learned how to fast with my cycle, and I love it. It's so fun. And then I learned how to eat a little differently with my cycle. And then I also, through all of this, I learned again how not to think of this as a diet. It's not restrict and binge. It's not all or nothing. I'm actually healing my body. Remember at the beginning of this, we talked about, how it helps with weight management, hormonal balance, cellular repair and longevity, insulin regulation, cognitive health, and reducing inflammation. I mean, this is exciting for me. This is exciting. So now I've changed my mindset. And then my last point, which I've kind of talked about here, is that I've really used fasting to help promote autophagy. So remember that autophagy is when we're fasting for a little bit longer, and it's removing and recycling damaged and dysfunctional cellular components. Oh, yeah, it's really like taking the trash out of your body, right? And so some autophagy fasting you can do are time restricted eating, which I'm sure you've all heard of, which is like you can opt for a 16 and 8 fast, or you can go to an extended fast, which would be beyond 24 hours. But if you're just starting, I would not recommend starting there, because this is a stress on the body. So like everything, we want to just dip our toes in, not jump off the cliff, because this is all about sustainability. I've been doing this since I was in my 40s, and I'm in my 50s. It's not something I did for a week or two. All right. So, and during autophagy, we really want to make sure that we're staying hydrated to support cellular function. And, we want to focus on nutrient timing, right? Like I said, so that's when you break an autophagy fast, you actually really want to decrease the amount of protein you're eating prior to the fasting and then coming out of the fasting to minimize muscle breakdown, right? And so, like always, all of these things, there's consistent research coming out. There's more research coming out on women. This is a very exciting time. And so this is, like I said, I eat, breathe, and sleep this, and you get to be the benefit. And if you're in my Vibrant Living membership, you actually get to get your own plan put together. We sit down, we get out a calendar, we plan it out for the month. I share recipes. It's really, really helpful. So anyway, that's, the fasting, like I said, to promote autophagy. I use fast to help me heal my gut. I used to be bloated all the time. Okay. And I thought that was normal. Bloating is not normal. And I've spent years healing my gut. Again, I didn't wreck my gut overnight. I took birth control. I had so many antibiotics as a child, even, sometimes as an adult. And then recently, unfortunately, because of this root canal problem, I was on antibiotics for the first time in a long time. And it was really bothersome, and that really destroys your gut. So now I'm in the process of rebuilding up my gut again, right? Because when you have antibiotics, it kills your good and bad bacteria, right? So now I'm really getting the fasting to help improve my gut, and then adding those bone broths and probiotic, prebiotic foods in there, the kefir, the sauerkraut, etc. So liver, you know what? We can't function without a healthy liver. So I'll do fast to support my liver. And then, like I said, recently, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really focusing on my brain health here. So now how can I fast and eat properly to support my brain health and my eyes. I had to start wearing glasses like between 50 and 51, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. So, and I really want to decrease my chances of chronic illness. I don't want to be diabetic. I don't want cancer. I don't want heart disease. I don't want diabetes. I don't want anything wrong with me. I am vibrant and energetic and healthy, and I will live most of the time in accordance with the plan that I set out because I feel so much better. So it's really interesting. I actually went to an event yesterday, and I had more carbs. There was not a single vegetable to be found, not one vegetable. It was a carb fest, and that is not how I have been eating. I still eat all macronutrients, but I'm much more intentional about how I eat. But I knew I was going into this event, and so I knew that. I knew my headspace. I had fasted, and then, you know, I started my fast again right afterwards. And I set myself up with success because before I went, I had a very fat laden shake, like tons of fat. So I was drinking that in my car on the way. And then, you know what? I have no stress. I have no, what's the word? I let go. Like I just embraced myself in this moment. I had some Prosecco. I had some egg salad sandwiches, some tuna, some scones, some dessert. But afterwards, driving home, I was so sleepy. I could barely keep my eyes open. And I have not experienced that in so long. And it just took me back to when I was stuck in those sugar burning phases of thinking that I needed energy. And so I would eat, and then I would get the sugar high, and then I would crash. And I was like, gosh, it's amazing how food affects your body. And I can also remember when I was teaching and I was very hyper, and people would say to me, oh, I guess you've just had some sugar. And I'm like, no, I'm actually fasting. You really do get a lot of energy when you learn how to tap into those fat stores. And this is why I think it's crucial that you embark on this path as one thing to get to your vibrant health in the latter part of your life. I really, like I said, I've had so much fun with it, and we're having so much fun in my Vibrant Living membership. So yes, food does affect how we feel. And after having that, those carbs yesterday, I was like, wow, that just hit home, just how powerful food is. Anyway, and again, I also want to share these things because I don't want to be perfect. I enjoy drinking. I enjoy eating. I really love food. I really love food. But you know what was interesting is I came home after driving, and this is what I would have done in the past, but I'm really being intentional about fasting. I would have come home and my husband was having a really great meal, and I had made this really awesome chicken parmesan, and I had my sauerkraut, my avocado looking at me, which I hadn't eaten that day. And before, I would have just eaten because I wanted to eat those healthy foods, but I wasn't hungry. I was not hungry. And so I took my dogs, I went for a walk around the pond about, I don't know, for half an hour, just to wake myself up, just to get my blood flowing. And I stuck to my guns, and I'm still fasting. That was yesterday. And I'm still fasting because I'm intentional about my fasts. And I'm not doing it as a deprivation or as a punishment. I'm doing it because this is in my plan, and I had planned for that day. And that's a whole other podcast that we could get into, where we talk about, which I have talked about, your prefrontal cortex, your adult thinking brain, and your child amygdala brain. So anyway, I'm going to wrap that up there. If you are so fascinated with fasting and how do you start, I'll give you this tip again. Just mark down the last bite of food you have to the beginning bite of food you have. And there's so many fasting apps. I used to write on paper. I love putting it in my fasting app. I think it's called Life Fasting or something like that. And I really enjoy using it. I find it very motivational. rather than writing it down. So you could do that and then start to look at your meals during the day. How often are you snacking? How often are you eating? How often are you filling up your car, right? And then you're never tapping into this fat ever. Okay, you have to go at least 8 hours without food to start tapping in to more of that fat burning system. So we can talk more about this. And if you have questions, please ask me. But again, this is what we talk about in my Vibrant Living membership. So you can do this on your own. Have fun. I know that community and support and motivation will just elevate this experience for you. Elevate your health, elevate how much fun you're having with it, elevate your sustainability with it. And you will learn so much more because, like I said, this is what I do all day long. So if you'd love to join my Vibrant Living membership, I'm offering 20% off today on the fasting and fat release program. I'll put that information in the show notes and you can join us. Have a beautiful day, everybody. And as always, share this with your gal pals, okay? I'm here to rebrand aging and menopause. I have a vision of women being much healthier and more comfortable in their bodies of all ages, but especially over the age of 35. So please share this information. It's transformational. Lots of love. Hug you, big hugs. It's hard to say goodbye sometimes. Bye.